Welcome to Veterans Views Podcast from the JED TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Now here are your hosts, Connie Karras and Steve Bramer.
Welcome back, WJOB Veterans Views Podcast. I am Steve Bramer here with my great friend, Connie Karras.
How are you, Steve?
Man, I am good.
It's wonderful just to be here today, and we have a lot of great things to talk about. Oh, by the way, how is your tooth? I know that tooth that you had some surgery on had become infected.
Yeah, it did. And I did everything the VA told me to do. I gargled with salt water, and then they gave me this mouthwash to use. But yeah, it still got infected, and man, it was just the pain. Oh, tooth pain is the worst pain. I mean, I thought I had dry socket is how bad it was. But they're like, no, it's just infected. So they gave me antibiotics, so it's better now. But
good. You staying hydrated?
Yeah.
Okay, getting your sleep.
One of the worst things was I felt like I tasted death in my mouth. And I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. It actually does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Been
Anyways,
there.
we have a great show today.
We do. We have a lot of important stuff to talk about.
Yes, we do.
There's a story that actually dropped just in the news today, and regarding the VA. And just so everybody knows, a great place to look for your information about veterans. Veterans news is from the American Legion, the DAV. They have wonderful. Go to their press releases. As well as militarytimes.com and military.com. But this is a story that just came to my phone from the American Legion. I'm on their list. And it is written by Linda F. Hershey, okay, and it's called Some Veterans Accruing Debt from Overpayments in VA Benefits. So the VA Office of Inspector General says VA claims processors inadequately trained, unprepared for influx of veterans seeking benefits under the PACT Act of 2022, leading to improper decisions and miscalculated payments. So what does that mean? So what's happening here? I'm just going to read this, just a little bit of this so that we understand what's going on. Claims processors at the Department of Veterans Affairs were inadequately trained and unprepared for the influx of veterans seeking benefits under the PACT Act, leading to improper decisions and miscalculated payments, a federal watchdog told lawmakers on Wednesday. So, federal law entitles veterans to compensation for medical conditions incurred or aggravated from active duty service, and as of December 31st, 2024, last December, more than 6 million veterans were receiving these benefits, according to the VA Office of Inspector General. But a lack of training combined with inconsistent guidance led to incorrect payments to some beneficiaries, said Brent Arante, Deputy Assistant Inspector General for the Office of Audits and Evaluations at the VA Office of Inspector General. Now, these audits uncovered underpayments and overpayments, which the VA attempts to collect from veterans when they are identified. Now, overpayments, and I can't wait, because you have a knowledge of this, Steve. I can't wait for you to explain all this. Overpayments can result in the VA creating debts that veterans owe back to the agency, which can create a paperwork nightmare for them and their families. And that was a quote from Morgan Luttrell, Republican, Texas, who said this during an oversight hearing of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Now, he says, we must ensure that VA makes every effort to prevent overpayments from happening in the first place, right? So the VA calculated $1 billion in overpayment debts for fiscal 2024 that it sought to collect from veterans and their beneficiaries, said Janine Gilson, acting chief financial officer at the VA. But the figure is a small fraction of a total outlay of $161 billion in compensation, she said. Okay, well, but then Arante said IG reviewers found claims processors were not prepared to understand and apply regulations outlined in the Sergeant First Class Heath Robertson Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxic Acts of 2022. That's the PACT Act. That's the full name. So in other words, passage of the PACT Act significantly expanded enrollment in VA healthcare. Now we're seeing all of these hundreds of thousands of new claims, right? And also now their survivors are qualifying for this compensation. So this is a very, very serious problem because
this is very bad.
Yeah, because it not only will it put veterans in debt, possibly, you've got overpayments and you have underpayments, but now to fix these improperly processed claims to begin with is going to further delay new claims. And also further delay. It's going to it's going to have a real life financial impact on veterans and our families.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
it's the government. When the government wants their money, they get their money, and that's the downside because a lot of these veterans, they're going to be told by the VA that they were inaccurately gave too much money. And what's going to happen is the VA is going to say, well, we understand that this is an undue hardship on you, but we need that money back. How do you want to pay us back? Well, now a veteran has to decide if they want to pay them back all at once or take payments out of their disability if they get disability or even garnish their payments because the VA will garnish your paycheck.
Have they garnished to your knowledge?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They garnished me a couple times.
And this is due to overpayment? Mm-hmm. Due to overpayment.
Yep.
And to your knowledge, before this article, to your knowledge, how often did that happen, overpayments?
Oh, so overpayments is always kind of been a thing. Okay. So what happened a lot of the time is it would be when like a veteran was married and then they got divorced and they didn't tell the VA. Mm-hmm. Well, the VA kept paying for the spouse, but there was no more spouse. So now when the VA finally figures it out, they're going to say, well, you shouldn't have gotten that money for the spouse. We want that money back. That creates an overpayment. Mm-hmm. So then if it gets too high, what I've seen is that you could fill out what's called a waiver. And then, you could tell the VA it will cause undue hardship upon you to pay them back. And then sometimes they'll waive it. Sometimes. I mean, it's all up to who's deciding that at the VA, but it was minuscule up until this point. You just had that every once in a while, Mm-hmm. Now, when you're seeing such a big degree of it, I mean, because...
And you know what the difference is here? What you're telling me is either people didn't know there was an oversight, human error on the part of the veteran, so in other words, they didn't know. Maybe they had to file with a change of status, or maybe I'm sure there's some also there's fraud, and people knew they needed to but didn't. I don't know. There's all kinds of factors that played into it. The difference here is that it's the employee's error.
Oh yeah.
That is improperly trained employees who didn't know what they were doing. And so that brings up, well, wait a minute. Weren't we just discussing how the government by the end of the fourth fiscal quarter this year planned to fire a total of 83,000 employees from the VA? Okay, well, and as we know, and we've discussed this in previous radio shows and podcasts, the government, the Department of Government Efficiency, is not going about this very efficiently because they're not looking at performance. They're just blindly firing for the most part, largely probationary employees, many of whom, thousands of whom, have been doing fantastic jobs.
Yeah. Right?
So where is the efficiency in that? If this is largely a problem of inefficient, improperly trained staff, right? Veterans Affairs staff not doing their job properly. Why is DOJ not coming in and fixing it in an efficient way and just willy-nilly firing people?
Yeah.
So
I mean, you may be seeing the effects of that now. Mm-hmm. This could be the problem that everybody has been talking about. Because this is just a start. Okay, think about this in realistic terms. Okay, you have a veteran that was applying for benefits. They applied, and then the VA gave them 100%. Okay, so now they've been getting a check for, let's say, 4 or 5 months for, I think it's like $3,800. Okay, so they've been getting that. Well, then the VA comes back and they said, you know what? We figured out. So one of the things I saw in there was that the calculation of the back pay is where some of the mistakes is. And what that is the VA will go back and figure out when you filed that claim, and they'll calculate how much you should have gotten paid at that time. So, the what we get paid goes up every year. So you have to figure out how much was it in 2024, if it was 2023, how much was it in 2023, and then you add that up. So if that's the miscalculation, say you gave a veteran 20,000 and you're only supposed to get 10. Well, now the VA is like, hey, we accidentally gave you 10,000 more than we should have. We want that back. Well, veterans like, what? $10,000? That's a car. That's a used car. How am I supposed to do that? So you can make payments through your disability check, but that you're talking a couple $100, $1,000 that they're taking out. Or if you don't respond, this is the worst case. If you don't respond, the VA is either A, just going to take your entire check until they get their money, or they're going to take out like half every month. If you got kids, you're relying on that, that could be devastating.
Yes.
That could be homelessness then.
If you have one or more folks in a household who have medical conditions, that you need that money, right? House payment, what have you. You know. Yeah. So then why then? And I'm sure this incoming administration knew that this stuff was going on, right? Why did they not efficiently weed out the staff that were not doing their jobs properly?
Actually, you know what? I think it's probably the opposite. They didn't. They didn't know. They didn't ask somebody, hey, if we eliminate this whole department, are you going to be good? They didn't ask somebody that. They just did it. And then what happens? Now you figure out that department was the one that was figuring out stuff.
Right. But see, these folks were not new to the game. All of these people coming in have been working in government, had been around the block a while. I think they knew I think everybody knew what was going on at the VA and
you may be right. Yeah. And then that's even more. I mean, it's one thing to plead ignorance. It's another thing if you knew that this was going to cause veterans bad things. Because I don't care who you are. I'm for veterans. I'm for veterans. That's who I'm for.
Veterans and the country.
I don't care who. I don't care who's up there. I don't care who's the governor, who's the president. I don't care. I'm for veterans. Because we're the ones that put our lives on hold when we join in service. Because when you join, what happened? You raised your hand, and then you got sent where the government told you to go. While you were gone, everybody else's life kept going. So when you come back home, now your life is starting. So you put your life on hold for the government.
And your families, if you have a family, right?
Oh, and that even more.
We have that going on with our co-host, Rocky right now with his family.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was recently Military Spouse Appreciation Day.
Good job. I forgot about that.
Amber almost came on the radio show last Friday. She's going to come on the 23rd.
That's awesome.
So yay, Amber. And so...
Because you know what? Those are the backbone of the military is the families. Because they have to keep life going while the veteran is out, doing what they have to, or not the veteran, but the military service member when they're doing their job. And we don't know if,
even in a peacetime situation, for instance, those young 4 U.S. Army soldiers who lost their lives in Lithuania, they weren't in combat. That was a terrible accident when their tank, an extremely heavy one, tons and tons, a very heavy tank, literally sank into a bog. Freak accident, right? Who could have foresaw that, right? And and tragic that you never know.
And that's what the military is.
It's dangerous.
We do dangerous stuff.
We're at the ready for our country, for freedom, to preserve the American way, to preserve freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice for everyone. We never know who's going to be coming back and who's not.
Yeah.
And I know that our wonderful co-host Rocky now, he was not deployed into a war zone, but what's going on right now with the maneuvers, the training that all of them out there are having to undergo with weapons and what have you, anything could happen in the blink of an eye. There could be an accident.
Or something kick off while you're out there.
Right.
I mean, and I've seen that happen before.
And we hope he comes back. He's set to come back this September. We're going to give him a big welcome home party. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So,
that is the best feeling is when you come home.
Tell us about that. Like, when did you come back? Now, I know that you were deployed out of Wicker Park, and I know Congressman Frank Mervan. He was on the show a few months back, and he said he was there that day you were deployed.
Yeah.
Right? tell us what it was like when you came back.
Oh, so when I came back, it was so first we were in Iraq and we were doing missions supporting EOD on like roadside bombs and stuff. We would go out and we would blow it in place. So when we came back, what we had to do is we had to hand off that job to another battalion. So we were doing rides side by sides with them until all of us were out of the vehicles, and then it was all their people. And that was about a month before we came home. 2 weeks before we came home is when we stopped going outside the wire. And that was kind of like the scariest part, is because you're 3 weeks away from coming home, and you know that's, you don't want something to happen then,
right?
Right? So when we were done, we flew out to Kuwait, and we were in Kuwait for 2 weeks for demob, and then that's when they did like the medical. They did a lot of the stuff they usually do back in States, but they do it there. But we did that there, and then a lot of briefings, and then we came home and we were at Camp Atterbury for about a week. Okay. And then I snuck off base. I went to a Bears game when I came back, so I took about 4 guys with me. It was so cold. It was like the coldest Bears game ever, too. It was against the Atlanta Falcons. But we snuck off.
You never got caught?
No. I mean, probably
no
now.
office hours for you. That's good. Yeah.
I was always doing stupid stuff, though. I don't know why. But, and then when you come home, I mean,
was it worth it? Did we win?
So no, we didn't win.
Okay.
And it was so cold. My beer froze halfway through. So by halftime we left because it was so cold.
Who do they play?
Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when you come back home, they try to do all the medical and like briefings, and you're just like over it. You're just ready to go see everybody, see your family. So when I didn't tell my mom when I was coming back. She knew I was in the States, but she didn't know I was back here. So what I did is I told her the day later than when I was coming, so I could surprise her at work. So I did that thing where
sweet.
I went in my uniform, and she got all happy. And
you see, like on social media, when you see those videos of people being surprised by their loved ones and they're crying.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah.
Do you have photos of that moment?
No.
Oh, I wish you did. We could show it on the radio show.
I wish I would have too. But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. And
what year was it?
2000, and so at that moment it was 2006.
See, that was just when that's just when the smartphones were really coming into being, and so people weren't taking pictures.
I wish I would have had. I wish I would have had kids for that moment. I don't wish it for the whole year I was gone, but for that moment, I wish I could have done something like that for them. That would have been cool. They never seen me in uniform, so because they were all born before or after I got out, so they didn't see me.
2006. Wow, has it been that? It's 2025 now. Steve,
this is my 20-year anniversary for Iraq. Yeah.
What the date? Do you remember the date you were?
Oh yeah,
deployed.
We deployed 3 days before. New Year's 2005 we flew out, and then we came back December. Like I just made it to Christmas, so we had to go on leave to go to Christmas, then we had to go back. So I came back home. It was like the early January.
Okay, so it was cold. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was
January's cold in
Chicago.
Yeah,
it was cold. Yeah.
Oh.
But all 2005 I was in Iraq, so this is my 20-year anniversary. Yeah, crazy how time flies. Oh my God, crazy stories I could tell you about being up there.
Tell us one.
You want a good one or a bad one?
Tell me a good one. Tell us a bad one.
Okay, so a good one is I was there for the first elections. So we were doing elections, and while we were doing elections, so basically for elections, what we did is we got these big concrete barriers that we would put outside police stations, and then that's how the people would go and vote. So it would like stop roadside bomber or suicide bombers and stuff. So while we were doing that, I met every time we went to a village, all the kids would surround us. So we get to this village and all the kids surround us, and then you just see them partying and you don't see why. And then it opens up and there's this little kid, tiny. I mean, I swear he was the size of a 2-year-old, but he was 12, I think. He runs up, he goes like this, he grabs his thumb, he did a thumbs up, he grabbed his thumb, he turned it, and then he let go and it spun because he didn't have a bone in his thumb.
Wow.
So it just spun. We're like, what the hell? So he became like our little like buddy.
Your little buddy,
You know,
yeah.
we called him Thumbs because of that. So every time we go into that village, man, we bring him food, candy, I mean, you name it. And we would
man.
carry him around. I mean, it was awesome. I loved meeting him. He was a great kid. I have pictures of him. I'll bring pictures of Thumbs.
Did he ever tell you what his actual name is?
Oh, God, no.
No.
A lot of times they didn't even tell us their real names. They would always say just Muhammad or something to that nature. Because, you know, at the time, they were arresting a lot of people that they thought were in Al-Qaeda. So, you know, it was like they wanted to work with us, but they were scared of us at the same time.
Well, children were being used.
Oh, big time.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And gosh, a 12 years of age and look like a 2-year-old with a no bone in his.
So
definitely malnourished.
The story on that is his parents were in the Kurdish area when Saddam's brother Chemical Ali bombed it. His parents died because of it, and he was like the product of that. You know, that's why he was so small and he didn't have like bones in some of his places. Like he was a product of that
was that
chemical attack.
Contamination. Yeah, because Hussein did
Oh, he did
absolutely
atrocious things.
upon his not on the troops. Not on the troops, but he certainly unleashed it on the citizens. It's horrible genocide. Yeah. But wow, you probably brought a little bit of sunshine into that young boy's life, and probably did the same thing for you guys too.
Yeah,
right.
It was because, you know, we would even like ask ourselves like, at what age do they turn against us? Because it was like the little kids, and then that was it. Nobody else liked us in that area. So at the time, it was Zarqawi that was in charge of Al Qaeda. We were looking for him. We were looking for him up north too, but he was they were hardliners. They did not want America there, and they were trying their hardest. I mean, I was going out at one point. We were going out at least 5 to 10 times a day to blow up roadside bombs. That's how many times we were getting blown up.
Yeah, how dangerous! And thank God you made it back.
Yeah.
So did you see anybody become a casualty?
Oh, yeah.
Of IEDs?
So that's the bad side of that story.
Okay.
Is towards the end of our tour, we went to that village, and they had actually taken Thumbs because they thought he was working with us, and then he ended up being dead.
They killed this boy?
You imagine that?
Jesus.
You imagine that?
That's horrible.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What's this kid telling us? Right? Like, what's this kid? He ain't working for us. Why? Because we bring him some candy? You're going to kill him? But they did. That's how ruthless they were out there.
Did you find his body?
They would actually, no.
No.
They never found him.
You just knew because you never saw him again that day.
Yeah. Well, we asked about him, and they told us. They're like, oh, they got him. They thought he was working for you guys. And we're like, damn.
Oh, Steve, gosh, the horrors of war. That's just terrible. Yeah.
I mean, and that was who you were dealing with at the time. I mean, they would use kids to set us up. Mm-hmm. You know, they would attack us when we were vulnerable and we were by the kids. And they didn't care. They didn't care if they hit the kids. It was just, you know, that's how they did it. So, but
yeah, it's gonna live with you forever. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You think about Thumbs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of my PTSD.
Yeah.
It was my kids because I seen kids die out there, and that's what affected me. I mean, I seen enemy die too. I mean, I seen a suicide bomber where he was waiting for us. When we turned the corner, he activated the car bomb, and it was my Hummer too. And I felt that Hummer lift off the ground and then come back down. And we got out of the kill zone. It was all smoky, and we got out of the kill zone. We went back and to assess it, and his face was on the ground. His toes were on the ground. I mean, he blew his face off his skull. That's how big of an explosion that was. But that didn't bother me, right? That didn't, hey, that's the enemy.
time.
Good.
Yeah.
And, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Good. One less I got to worry about. But when you see the kids, that's when it's like hits home. And now it affects me more because I'm so protective over my kids. I probably strained my relationship with my kids because of how protective I am. In my head, nobody can take care of them like I can. I mean, up until about a year or two ago, I would get anxious when my wife would drive the kids because I was just so like, oh my God, something bad's going to happen if I'm not there. Oh my God, did I check the tires to make sure the lug nuts aren't like loose? Like, that's the crazy stuff that would go through my head.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I think that's a normal reaction to what you saw and what you experienced. Yeah. To really messed up, horrible, horrible stuff that you experienced, and that lasts a lifetime. It lasts a lifetime. It's a part of us. It will never go away. It's a part of us. But look what you're doing, how you're turning it into something positive. So now you have your own children, and you're just doing so much wonderful stuff. You're one of the best veteran advocates I know, and
thanks. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that because you know a lot.
And not any more than anybody else, believe me. I do not know a lot more than I do know, believe me. But how long now have you been doing these disability claims for the DAV? Has it been 10 years?
Oh no, it's been close to 15.
15 now. Yeah. So how many claims do you think you've done?
Oh, and it wasn't even really doing the claims, because what I would do when I would go with John to the different DAV meetings is I would he would talk to them and look up their case, and then he'd be like, all right, go talk to Steve, you have an exam. So they come to me, and then I would explain the exam to them. And having been through what I've been through, I've been to a lot of exams, so I was able to explain the exams to them. And I mean, that was the greatest feeling, is when somebody would call and be like, oh my God, dude, I got 60%. I'm like, yeah, all right, man, let's keep going, Still love that feeling, and but there's a downside. Like, a lot of my best friends are Vietnam vets, and now you're starting to see a lot of them pass. So now I'm starting to get a lot of my buddies' wives, asking about the benefits and needing help, and that's hard. That's hard because, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love helping. It's just hard because I think of my buddy, and I think of like damn, you feel like more's to come. It's not gonna stop. There's always new veterans. So, but
I remember when the World War II veterans were the ones who were aging, the octogenarians. Now we're seeing the honor flight. Now it's opened up to the Vietnam veterans. But that's the next generation, and and now they are they're aging. They're approaching the octogenarian status now. So many of them are in their 80s. And the next generation is going to be the Desert Storm. I'm 60. I'm going to be 60 next year. So that's the next generation.
Or Cold War.
And the Cold War. Yeah.
Is that even that is an era, isn't it? Yeah, Cold War era. Yeah.
It absolutely is. Yes.
I think my dad was Cold War era, actually. Marine. 1980. So because the Cold War ended in. Okay, see, now I gotta look it up, because I can't remember when the Cold War ended.
So, let's see.
1989. Oh, yeah, so that is 1947 and 1989.
Right, and I enlisted in 1988 in the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow, so you just caught the last end of that one.
So,
and the crazy part about the Cold War, when you think about what veterans had to go through at that point, is a lot of like what ifs. Oh my, you had to be. See, the thing about being in the military, you got to be prepared at all times, and you don't just turn that off when you come home. So you keep that mentality, and that's a stressful mentality to have, to always be ready. That's very stressful. You
don't know what's going to happen, and with post 9/11. Goodness, did that ever usher in just a reign of the global war on terror, and our world will never be the same. And there've been a lot of periods of Cold War throughout World Wars I, II, Korea, Vietnam, but the most recent one is the final years, 85 actually to 1991, and it's a scary time right now. We need to have a strong, ready force, but we really are not meeting our quotas for all branches. The only branch, I just read this, I'll look it up again, that we're meeting our monthly quotas with is the Marine Corps, strangely. Is the Marine
Really?
Corps. If what I had accessed is correct, we can look it up again now. But all the other numbers are down, and
I could believe that,
yeah.
though.
Well, and given that we could have a more ready force with respect at least to numbers, amongst all the six with the Space Force branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. We now remember we had spoken in about the transgender troops and what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And we had interviewed actually a transgender CB veteran, Amy Kay, recently, and at the time we did that interview. What had not yet come to pass is that SCOTUS did render an opinion. I don't know if you saw this, that the transgender troops must be discharged, awaiting the courts working this all out, lower courts. Yes. So now I think, let's look this up. 1,000 troops need to be discharged by the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and
I didn't know that came to pass.
It came to pass since we had interviewed Amy, and so the commands are the military is scrambling now to basically discharge all of these folks, but. These are
why couldn't they just let them stay in?
Honestly, Steve, right? Because and from the interview we did with Amy, as we well know, they do their jobs wonderfully, competently, with integrity. There are no issues. They're certainly not going to make waves because they know all eyes are on them. So they do their jobs well. They're human beings and troops like anybody else, and it's covering all aspects of the military, from combat all the way and down to every MOS. We have transgender troops, and they just want to serve like anybody else. And you're not going to be finding them causing problems in the military. They're not predators. They're not.
So how are they going to discharge them? Are they discharging them off of a medical, or do they just give them an honorable? Like, how does that work?
Well, here's the thing. The problem with this now is if many of them are nearing getting benefits, retire, or wanting to they're not going to have retirement benefits. Even they won't have access to benefits once they're fired. Right, once they're removed. So I think somebody had introduced some legislation to at least make sure that they get some benefits if they're separated from the military. Here, let's look this up.
Yeah, because I when it comes to the transgender issue, I don't agree with some of it, but when it comes to this instance, they're already in. They're already doing their job. Why couldn't you implement this law where you just nobody new comes in? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but I don't know. I just feel like firing somebody or discharging them for this. Say they have like 10, 15 years in. So close to retirement. Mm-hmm. Like, that's sad. That is sad. That is sad. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. But I mean, there's a lot of questionable things happening right now. Because you know what? I mean, do I agree with some of the things that Trump is doing? Yes, I do. But there are some things that I don't agree with. And that one I'm kind of iffy with. But I don't know. I don't agree with them being discharged.
So this is dated May 13th, 2025. Okay. And so there's a memo that was issued by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And it says that all active component transgender service members will have 30 days Those in the National Guard and Reserve will have 60 days to voluntarily self-separate or be forced out. So this is going to affect approximately 1,000 service members, and we know there are more than 1,000 transgender people in the military. So I don't know why this is 1,000 people, but this will affect. This may be that there are reserve components, transgender folks who occupy reserve component, but the reserve components of the branches. But this is approximately 1,000 service members who have self-identified as being diagnosed with gender dysphoria. So that explains it right there. 1,000 service members have self-identified as being diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that? They have to what?
So they have to voluntarily self-separate. In other words, leave.
Self-separate.
That's what they're talking.
Now let me ask you a question. When we were in, did you have an option of whether you wanted to be there or not? Like, once you joined, there was no options. You couldn't self-separate yourself. That was probably a couple of times I wanted to self-separate myself from the military.
The difference here is these people do not want to self-separate.
Funny how the rules get changed.
Well, but see, this isn't apples and apples. It's apples and oranges, because this is a different situation. These are people who want to stay in.
Yeah.
Who are being forced.
Oh, I know.
They want to stay in. That the last thing that they want to keep serving honorably. So, but yeah. So, but
how does it even work?
I can only imagine that there are some folks who are not self-identifying as having gender dysphoria who are transgender in the military. So I'm sure there's a big gray area. We don't have exact numbers.
Okay. How do they figure that out? I mean, if I recall correctly, there's HIPAA, and they can't go into your medical records. So how are they even knowing if somebody is transgender or not?
So from the interviews that I've heard, especially, Commander Emily Schilling, and also with Amy, who we interviewed. Remember, we used Commander Emily Schilling's video when we had interviewed Amy. There are folks who, when they are currently serving, haven't completely transitioned, aren't exactly in a space where they have had gender affirming surgeries or gender affirming care. They're in a transitioning process where they may not even be cognizant ever of even making sense of things. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So it's not a cut and dried situation. It's kind of like you're going about your day, and I think some people may even come to terms with the fact that they want to have gender affirming care while they're serving. In other words, it's not a situation where a person is fully transitioned, enters the military, and this is my status, or a person is beginning self-transitioning, goes into the military, and declares it. It's a fluid process. So I think that's why it's hard to get the numbers of everything, because of how many transgender folks are in the military, because they're in various stages of their life and various stages of deciding how to transition, if they want to. So I think there's no black and white there. And so I think that's why it's hard to pinpoint an exact number of how many are.
So that makes sense. I can believe that.
But this affects 1,000 people, and they don't have very long, because they have 30 days according to this memo issued by Defense Secretary Hegseth. So they have until June 6th to separate, and that's 1,000 folks. So also what's worth noting is this Supreme Court's, it calls it a ruling, although Donna Dunn, our co-host, said that the Supreme Court doesn't render rulings, they render opinions. So I'll say the Supreme Court opinion does not impact ongoing litigation over the policy. So that's important to remember. It doesn't impact any ongoing litigation. There's still litigation going on. We don't know how this is all going to play out. But for now, they do need to be discharged, because the Supreme Court rendered an opinion that they do while this is all playing out with pending litigation. So this is not the end-all be-all right now. It's still going to be played out in the courts.
It's almost like when they were kicking people out for not taking the COVID shot. Mm-hmm. Like I back then, I didn't agree with that either. I mean, it's just, I'm of the frame of mind of leave people alone. I mean, man, people put their lives on the line. People have dedicated years to the service, and to make them have to make a choice like that is not.
Let's apply the
good.
COVID shot to all the shots, all the inoculations. When I enlisted in the Marine Corps, I did not have a choice about any of those inoculations. I had to get vaccinated against so many things, and I don't think the SARS-CoV-2 COVID vaccine is any different than any of the other vaccines that we needed to take. We're government property at that point, Steve. So if I was to say, oh no, I don't want to get vaccinated against the Black Plague or this or that, or that, I don't want to take this, I'm sure they would have separated me, because I could have potentially been, even if you're not deployed, you're in close quarters when you're in barracks, even when you're stateside, you're CONUS, and you're in a barracks and you're on your base. You can't be contaminating people with something that you can track. But even worse so, you're exposed to so many more pathogens, viruses, bacteria that you don't access in the United States. So say if you're deployed, you could really get sick and then get other people sick. So I wonder if it hadn't even entered my mind to say, no, I don't want this vaccine. I thought, this is part of being a United States Marine. Give it to me.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a special dispensation for it.
My problem with the COVID shot was just how fast they rolled it out. I mean, Trump, what was it called? It was called lightning speed or something.
Yes. Well, the mRNA.
When Trump did it. So it came out so fast.
But it was a serious global emergency.
Yeah,
I mean, and had we never had a vaccine, gosh, how many more millions upon millions upon millions would die.
But there's good and bad with everything, and now you see some of the heart problems that some people are having because of it. But that was my problem at the time. I know somebody who has
endocarditis from it, a male. I know someone who has it from
that's scary.
But
that's the heart. Oh God.
Yes, but then you look at all the other. That's a risk with all vaccines. Do you know that the polio vaccine, when Salk developed initially developed the polio vaccine, do you know that it killed millions of people?
Oh, I didn't know
that.
And
then it was improved.
Huh. I didn't know that.
It was better.
What's the one that they say gives ADHD now? Which one is that? They're saying one of those vaccinations is the primary cause for a lot of ADD right now in kids. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking shit out of my ass, but it's.
Let's look it up here. We have the world at our fingertips. Smart, quote unquote,
gotta
smartphones.
Live them. Nation.
Let's see. Well, from what I have read, several of them have been linked to it, and although I don't think relying upon the wisdom of the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Robert F. Kennedy is the person.
What I always wondered?
Whose word we should take on things.
Who is AI Overview? When you ask Google a question and then it says AI, like who is giving you this answer?
It draws from several different and I'll tell you too.
Is that how?
Yes, but you know what? Huh. Don't go by AI. When you research something on a phone and you see up at the top the AI overview, that is not necessarily accurate information. It's often dated information, and I accessed something recently that was about 4 years old, and it was being presented as though it was real, and it didn't have current statistics. So never go by that. Independently, that AI.
No kidding.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point. How does that get compiled?
Yeah.
How does that get compiled?
I just noticed that right now. I was like, wait a minute, who's giving me this answer? Oh, wow.
Let's look it up right now. Who compiles AI Overview?
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's connected to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man.
It's Google's own systems leveraging their large language model, Gemini. It's Gemini. You know how you have I have a Gemini, the platform on my phone. It's a Pixel 9a, and it's got something called Gemini. And this is information across the web, including what's called their knowledge graph. Okay, so Gemini models are being updated constantly, and they generate all this information for the AI overview. However, the vast amount of information on the web, you're just getting a little itty bitty little summarization.
So basically, the answer is just accumulation of what else it found on the internet. They're
just pulling a little bit of this, that, and the other.
Yeah, right.
And they're not giving any deference apparently, because I've seen very dated information about what's put in that little bullet pointed information, that summary. They don't. I don't think the algorithm is sufficient to be sure that it's the most up to date. They certainly don't. They don't. It's not peer. There's not somebody going peer reviewing it.
No.
It's all automated. So you don't have somebody making sure that it's accurate. You have to do your own independent research.
Hey,
So
you want to try something right now?
what?
Why don't we look up the same thing on different phones and see what happens?
Good idea. What do you want to look up?
I don't know. What do you want to look up?
Okay, let's see.
I'm curious.
How many veterans are in the? Let's got to be something more interesting than that. Let's see. How many transgender troops are in the military?
Good one.
Yeah, transgender. I've looked it up several times and gotten different answers. By the way, see now look, the first thing that comes up here, 2014. 2014. Okay.
Okay, so I got the 2014 study too.
See the overview doesn't give you a number, because there is no number that we know of. It just gives you numbers estimates from each year.
Yeah.
Right? Gives you Pentagon data from 2025. And what does that say? Do you have that same information? See, yours is different.
Yeah.
Look at that, right?
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yours is different. Now, the Pentagon data says, as of February 2025, indicates a significantly lower number than other sources. It says 4,240 service members with a diagnosis of gender diagnosis.
Okay.
That means they have declared it. They know it.
Yeah.
And remember what I had said earlier? There are
Yep.
probably people in there who don't have a diagnosis, or
Probably
are in
a lot more.
and they're in the process of coming into their own being. The Palm Center in 2016 said 14,700. Look at that. And they
Wow.
published that in 2016. The number of openly serving transgender troops is closer to 14,700. So there's a very big discrepancy in the
Wow.
numbers. Yeah.
That's
I'm going to look into that. That's an interest. That's not even
crazy.
close.
I
That's
know.
not even close. But I'll tell you though, for when I was researching this recently, most sources concur that it's around 10,000, give or take.
Okay.
That's more.
Kind of
accurate.
looks like it from when you look
Yeah.
at the numbers. Yeah.
Yes.
I could see that.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting how we came up with different information?
Yeah.
And we have we're sitting here. We both have smartphones. We live in the same area. What phone do you have, by the way?
Samsung. I don't know the S20.
We both have Androids. I thought maybe that was an iPhone, and that might just explain the discrepancy. But they're both
We're Android
Androids.
family.
Yeah.
iPhone. I can't even figure out the iPhone. My daughter tried getting. My daughter she bought an iPhone for herself, but then she was using the Wi-Fi to use it. And I was like, "Do you even use the phone I got you?" And she's like, "Well, I use that to make calls." I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. But yeah, I tried using it, and that thing's that's complicated for me at least. You know, Android for life. No.
Oh, so much stuff to talk about. Anything else before we wrap up here? That's really important to just talk about, or I think we've covered quite a bit.
We covered quite a bit
Yes.
today. That was a good show.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, we
we
had a
did
good
really
discussion.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff to keep talking about, right?
Definitely need to keep an eye on that VA stuff.
Yes.
See how that turns out.
Yes, and hopefully we can get our friend Lisa Wilkin to call in and talk about some legislative situations, because what we didn't get to today, but we will at another time, is Indiana House Rule SB 1. The Senate Bill 1.
Man.
Yes.
We could probably have a whole podcast just on that.
We could.
Because
we
now
really
look,
should.
they just passed that tax bill, and now what? Oh, now we're going to have to make your highways toll roads. Mm-hmm. Like, come on. Are you kidding me?
I'm not so sure that's going to go through.
I hope
There's
not.
so much uproar over that. That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know
I'd be
how much it
surprised if
is
that happened.
at that Indiana one to go into Illinois?
I no longer take the Skyway.
It's like
almost $12 now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's up to 12, near 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they said it would never get that high. No.
Yeah.
Lie,
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on. Yeah. We got to keep an eye on them, Steve. We got to, we got to keep an eye on them for our families and our veterans. Ugh. All right. Well, this was great. You have a wonderful day. I'm glad you're feeling better from your infected tooth.
Thanks.
And, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And and I can't wait till next week. Let's go out, have a great day, and everybody, we'll see you next time.
Next time.
All right.
Hoorah.
Have a great day, everybody. God bless America.
You've been listening to Veterans Views podcast from the Jed TV studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. Thank you for listening.